Born January 19, 1989, in Lafayette, Louisiana, Poirier dropped out in 9th grade and turned to combat sports to channel his energy. He began training in boxing and jiu-jitsu before making his MMA debut on May 16, 2009, in a regional event. After signing with the WEC and rebounding from his debut loss to Danny Castillo, Dustin Poirier was presented a major opportunity when WEC merged into the UFC in October 2010. Even before joining the UFC, though new to the big stage, already demonstrated relentless tenacity, hunger, and determination.
I feel comfortable here. I feel like I belong here. When I'm in the locker room warming up, when I walk to the cage, when I step in there, I feel like it's mine.
Before meeting Max Holloway at UFC 143, Dustin Poirier was riding high, boasting an impressive 11-1 overall record, including 5 knockouts, 4 submissions, 3 decisions, and a perfect 3-0 UFC streak. He delivered a stunning debut at UFC 125, stepping in to replace Jose Aldo on short notice and defeating the #1 contender at the time, Josh Grisby, via unanimous decision. Followed up by a unanimous decision win against Jason Young. And an impressive second-round Darce-choke submission over Pablo Garza. Dustin was originally set to face Eric Koch at UFC 143, but Koch pulled out due to injury. Ricardo Lamas stepped in, but when Lamas also withdrew due to an injury, Max Holloway stepped in with 1 week's notice for his UFC debut. Born December 4, 1991 in Honolulu and raised in Waianae, Hawaii, a tough neighborhood famed for street fights, Holloway discovered kickboxing at 15, winning his first amateur bout after only 3 days of training. Before joining the UFC, Holloway had already made a name for himself as a fearless, technically sharp fighter, dominating Hawaii's local scene. UFC 143 marked Max Holloway's UFC debut. He came in undefeated at 4-0 and had already won the X1 lightweight championship in just his 3rd professional fight. Max's standout victory at the time was a first-round knockout of Bryson Kamika. UFC 143 was held at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas. Dustin entered the fight ranked number 10 in the featherweight division, while Max was still unranked at the time. And while both men maintained a respectful demeanor during the weigh-ins, you could still feel the competitive tension in the air. Despite Max being 2 inches taller, Dustin had a 3-inch reach advantage coming into the fight. From the opening bell, the fight burst to life. Dustin and Max came out firing, both hunting the finish. Fans watching Max's UFC debut were especially impressed by his non-stop activity and the 4 flying knee attempts in that blistering first round. Dustin decided to take a mature and measured approach, exploiting Max's weakness by taking him down to the ground and mixing up submission attempts. From an armbar attempt to a triangle. Despite his elation over the win, Dustin still paused to show respect to Max Holloway afterward.
He's tough. I didn't think he was going to tap. I felt his arm I didn't feel it pop, but I felt it kind of give and start hyperextending.
Regrets at all? I mean, obviously that was a very difficult fight to take. Most people come in and get a little bit easier, walk in there. Any regrets at all, or are you happy with the way that it took?
No regrets at all. The world got to see my stand-up. now they're waiting for my ground, so I'm about to show both this fight.
How are you feeling going into this fight?
Feeling great, feeling good, everything feeling on. Just feeling on top of my game right now.
Now talk a little bit about your preparation for this fight and what did you do to get ready for Pat?
You know, I put a little bit more time into my jiu-jitsu and my wrestling. You know, coming off a loss, you know, if you don't come back hungry, especially you're fighting a guy coming off a loss, so just expect fireworks this fight. I'm gonna come at him.
A loss can define you, either breaking you or forging you, and Max's defeat proved he was forged for this sport. He diligently addressed his weaknesses while building on his strengths, emerging stronger and more determined than ever. Max worked tirelessly to bounce back, securing a unanimous decision win over Pat Schilling. He then returned even stronger at UFC 150, dismantling Justin Lawrence with a brutal second-round TKO.
How you feeling about that fight?
Man, I'm feeling good. Just happy I finally got a stoppage, man. I don't got stoppages on my record, so it's happy to have another one.
Yeah, it feels good. You know, people expected this fight to have, you know, I hate the saying, oh, it's going to be fireworks, but people really did expect that from you. So was there a certain amount of pressure coming into this to know you had to kind of deliver that fight?
No pressure at all, you know. I kind of let pressure get to me before, and I didn't perform the way I wanted to perform. So, you know, I just went in there calm and cool, and whatever way the wins takes me, I'm going to go.
Despite a few early losses, Max went on to earn an 11-fight win streak, delivering emphatic finishes against fighters like Will Cho, Andre Fili, Clay Collard, Akira Corisani, Cub Swanson, and Charles Oliveira.
All the true fans know who Max Holloway is, and most fans actually know who Max Holloway is, and if you don't, December 10th, you're about to find out, and I'm telling you guys now, jump on the wagon now. We got a lot of room, and we're going to have a lot more after come December 10th.
And that momentum ultimately earned Max his first shot at the interim UFC Featherweight Championship, challenging Anthony Pettis at UFC 206 in December 2016. Max always stayed a step ahead against Pettis. He dominated the first round, rocked him with a knockdown in the second, and then methodically finished him toward the end of the third. That dominant performance against Pettis earned Max his first UFC title, as he claimed the interim featherweight championship. He then solidified his legacy by unifying the title in spectacular fashion, dominantly stopping Jose Aldo in the third round of their first fight at UFC 212. And repeating the knockout performance in the rematch at UFC 218, firmly establishing himself as the undisputed featherweight king and keeping the Blessed Express rolling. Max then delivered a striking clinic in his second title defense, dominating Brian Ortega with a masterful display of range, volume, and footwork, including teaching him how to defend his combinations, before a doctor stoppage ended the fight toward the end of the fourth round. This bout earned both Performance of the Night award. Struggling with the physical toll of weight cuts, Dustin Poirier faced a pivotal moment in his career. After a first-round TKO loss to Conor McGregor at UFC 178, he decided to move up to lightweight, a division where he felt more comfortable and could focus on training rather than the draining process of making weight. He turned that setback into motivation.
Okay, I just woke up. I'm gonna show you why I'm moving to lightweight. I'm in decent shape now, I would say. Bye.
Dustin's move to lightweight proved ideal. He kicked it off with a stunning first-round knockout of Carlos Diego Ferreira at UFC Fight Night 63. He followed that with a first-round knockout of Yancy Medeiros after a brutal flurry of punches. Following a decision win, he then delivered another first-round knockout, this time over Bobby Green. Despite a setback against Michael Johnson, Dustin bounced back by turning in a fight-of-the-night worthy performance to edge out Jim Miller via majority decision at UFC 208. He then showcased another fight-of-the-night performance against Anthony Pettis, securing a third-round submission after locking in a punishing body triangle. It was then that Poirier truly captured the spotlight, delivering an unforgettable fight-of-the-night performance against Justin Gaethje, securing a fourth-round TKO. After their first bout ended in a no contest, Dustin was determined to build on his momentum. He overwhelmed Eddie Alvarez with relentless combinations, culminating in a second-round TKO victory at UFC on Fox 30. This would be the fight that earned Dustin his interim lightweight title shot against Max Holloway for the rematch. Max and Dustin would both step into this rematch in the very best version of themselves, entering at the absolute peak of their careers. They brought with them a remarkable resume of achievements and jaw-dropping statistics, making this contest feel like destiny. It was quite simply a matchup crafted in heaven.
Was this a rematch you ever even thought about having? I mean, Max is obviously a fun guy. I'm sure you're probably a fan of the way.
I have a lot of respect for the guy, and that, as a person, I remember when I beat him, he came to the locker room after and started talking to me, asking me. I guess he read somewhere that I cook a lot and stuff. He's like, "So you cook and stuff?" He was just a normal, down-to-earth kid, man. Really, really good guy. And we kind of spoke a little bit at UFC 199. We both fought. He fought.
Listen, do you think you can trade shots with him, or does it just have to be technical? I mean, he's a featherweight, obviously, moving up, but you said he's big. I mean, do you think you can stand and just trade, or do you
Can he trade shots with me is the question. That's the question.
What matters here is the title belt, but is there anything special about it being Dustin? I mean, this rematch, I mean, had you ever considered along the way that, well, I would like to get that one back?
Not at all. I'm that guy. It happened. If we cross paths, we cross paths. So I didn't spend no time thinking about it. Too much people dwell in the past and be like, oh, I got to get this one. I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care if I got it back, but our paths cross. Okay, cool. We get to do this again. We get to run it back. Like I said before, it's so long time ago, Max that you guys looking at today would have bodied 20-year-old Max. I would have put him in a cemetery right down the road from my street and visit him every day.
The rematch was set to take place at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, on April 13, 2019, as part of UFC 236. The face started off with the same intensity as their first encounter. Both fighters radiated confidence, having honed their skills. The anticipation was through the roof. But next was a moment people remember to this day, a demand for violence. ultimately tipped the scales in his favor. This fight was one for the ages. Dustin not only earned his first UFC lightweight championship, but also delivered a fight of the night performance against Max Holloway. After their rematch, each man eventually lost his title. Dustin lost the interim lightweight belt to Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 242, while Holloway was upended by Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 245.
I was just so prepared, you know, for tonight. This one really hurts.
Then it is what it is. You know, we'll be back. Like I said, I'm only 28. I'm only 28, guys. I'll be back. I'll be back, and we'll be ready.
But unlike any other, these two fighters are truly one of a kind, rebuilt themselves from rock bottom. They've faced adversity before and forged the mindset needed to overcome anything thrown their way. Dustin announced his return in emphatic fashion, securing a Fight of the Year caliber unanimous decision win over Dan Hooker at UFC Vegas 4. What followed was pure superstardom. Dustin got his revenge on Conor McGregor, knocking him out not once but twice, firmly establishing himself as a mainstream MMA icon. Holloway also bounced back decisively. He snapped Arnold Allen's 12-fight win streak with a dominant unanimous decision. He then elevated his comeback even further, landing a devastating right hand that knocked out the Korean Zombie in the third round at UFC Singapore. And then came an iconic moment already cemented in the Hall of Fame, a last-second knockout of Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 to claim the BMF title. They've crossed paths their entire careers, each forging their own path through adversity, only to face one another again. Now, as fate would have it, they meet for the final time at UFC 318, where combat has bonded them in a rivalry that's about to reach its epic conclusion.
You know, the message that I'm trying to send is that I'm still here. You know, I know this is Dustin's retirement fight, but his last fight was for a title. I still have title contentions in my mind. I have an opportunity to be his retirement fight, and I know he's trying to ride into the sunset, but he can go and do that, but it might be a little sad because I want to go out there and get my hand raised.
And a great fighter and a great champion, and like we spoke about earlier, just see the things he's done in his career from that young kid I fought in his debut. All the way full circle, I was his first fight in the UFC. Now he's going to be my last fight in the UFC, so it's just... it's crazy, but when I lay the gloves down in July, there's nobody else like that I would rather have fought my last fight than Max Holloway.